The year is 1850. We follow Herman Melville, a famous writer who is currently working on a new book. He visits a man named Thomas Nickerson, a survivor of the wreck of the whale ship Essex. Melville tells Nickerson that he would like to hear the story of the Essex and its crew, offering a nice amount of money. Nickerson refuses, and Melville explains that he wants to write a book inspired by that story. But that doesn't change Nickerson's mind. We can see that he's traumatized by those events. However, his wife intervenes and convinces him to tell the story. Now we travel through time to 1820. We meet a veteran whaler, a husband, and a future father, Owen Chase. He goes to the Nantucket Whaling Company to get assigned on a new hunting trip. He discusses the job with the company owners, who assign him to be the first mate on a brand new ship, Essex. That enrages Chase, since they promised to promote him to a captain. The owners explain that they need to postpone that because they already have the captain from an established whaling family. They promise Chase that they will promote him when he comes back. Chase leaves with an overwhelming feeling of injustice. He goes home to get the equipment and say goodbye to his pregnant wife before he leaves. The ship then sails to the Atlantic Ocean. There, we can see a young Nickerson, a 14-year-old cabin boy without a family. Chase meets up with his best friend, who is a second mate, Matthew Joy. Chase trusts him the most, and he shares his thoughts about the inexperienced new captain. The two of them notice that the captain is looking at them, and Chase approaches to meet him. Captain George Pollard introduces himself to Chase, who teases him through the conversation because of his lack of experience. Suddenly, one sail entangles with rope, and Chase heads out to fix it. Everyone observes with admiration, except Pollard, as he watches with jealousy on his face. That night, Pollard insults Chase by saying he was always the first mate because he is not from a whaler family like him. Chase leaves the cabin and goes to check on the crew. There, he sees Nickerson having trouble with seasickness. Chase takes him to the deck and gives him an odd treatment by holding him upside down. Chase finds out that Nickerson's family is dead and that he is all alone. The first mate corrects him by saying that he and the crew are his family now. The next day, everything is going smoothly by Chase's command, but the captain is not satisfied with the Essex speed, so he orders them to rise staysails. Chase and Joy advise him that it's not smart to do that, but the captain thinks he knows better. A storm arrives, and Chase advises the captain to raise the sails, but the captain, full of pride, refuses to listen to the first mate. Because of that decision, the Essex suffers heavy damage, luckily without casualties. After the storm, the conflict between Chase and the captain becomes more serious. However, they agree to put their differences aside rather than risk their reputations by returning to the port without profit. A few days pass, and the crew spots a bull sperm whale in the distance. They immediately get on boats to catch their first prey. Chase manages to hit the whale with his harpoon, but the animal dives deep, trying to survive. That creates a problem for Chase because the rope isn't long enough. Luckily, Joy throws him his rope, and Chase kills the whale. The crew goes back to the ship to harvest the meat and oil. However, they don't manage to get all the oil, and when Chase hears that, he tells Nickerson to go inside the whale to get everything. The poor boy goes inside and gathers as much as he can while being grossed out. 3 months pass with no further success, and Pollard realizes that the Atlantic Ocean holds no sighting of whales. The Essex sails past Cape Horn to the Pacific, and they hope for better luck in catching one. They make a stop at Atacames, Ecuador. There, the Essex officers meet a Spanish captain who tells them his crew found a bountiful offshore grounds 2,000 miles to the west, but claims that a vengeful white whale destroyed his ship, killing 6 of his men. The Essex officer thinks that he just made the story up, or that his eyes deceived him. They decide to go to the bountiful location and fill their pockets. After a few days of sailing, the crew finds a whale pod and immediately lowers their boats to go for a hunt. The crew starts throwing their harpoons when suddenly a giant whale, whose skin is whitened by scars, attacks the crew, making them flee to Essex. The whale attacks the ship, and Chase manages to hit him with his harpoon. That only enrages the animal, which rams the ship's hull, killing 2 men. With the hull stove out and pumps not working, the crew abandons the sinking Essex in the 3 intact whaling boats. Essex starts burning, while Chase is still there looking for weapons to kill the whale, as now he holds a grudge against him. Essex is now just a pile of burning wood, and as the crew watches the boat sink, they think that Chase died. However, he shows up and throws Joy a rifle, saying that they will kill the whale. The crew heads in the direction from which they came, hoping they will be back before their rations run out. One night, a storm catches up with them and damages their boats. A few crewmen die, and Joy gets a nasty hit on the head. During the wild storm, Chase catches a glimpse of the whale following them, hidden in the dark water abyss. The next day, Chase sees the wound on Joy's head. He tries to hide it, fearing that the other crewmen could throw him into the sea to save up rations. Chase assures him that everything will be all right and that he will take care of him. After a few days, the crew suddenly spots an island in the distance. George Pollard presumes it could be Ducie Island and admits that there's no way to be certain without instruments. The crew heads there, but the whale suddenly attacks. It seems like the creature wanted to give them a false sense of security before attacking them, to show them how it feels to be hunted. Survivors of this deadly attack manage to escape to the island, and they start planning their next move. The crew decides to stay on the island, light a signal fire, and wait for ships to show up. Chase discovers a long-dead corpse of earlier castaways, and the crew decides to leave the island, thinking they could die waiting for someone to rescue them. Everyone starts fixing the boats and harpoons in case the whale decides to attack them again. The crew gets ready to leave, but 3 of them decide to stay on the island and test their luck, hoping that someone will find them. Chase notices that Joy is missing. He finds him sitting in the cave, weak and wounded. His injury is infected, and he knows that he won't be of any help to the others. Joy wishes luck to his best friend and tells him that he will wait for his return. Chase promises that he will come back for him, calling him a brother, and they part ways. Joy watches as 3 boats with survivors sail away. 47 days pass, and Nickerson discovers that one of their crewmates has died. Short on food, the remaining crew reluctantly decides to cannibalize their dead friend. The story then shifts to old Nickerson, who stops his story, overcome with remorse for his cannibalism, thinking Melville is disgusted. The writer assures him that he understands, and Nickerson opens up to him, saying that his wife could not love him if she knew about it. However, his wife comforts him, assuring him that she still loves him. That encourages him enough to finish the story. Back in 1820, we see an almost unconscious Nickerson lying in the boat, risking to drown himself. Chase pulls him up, and the 2 of them start talking more about their lives. Chase tells him about his pregnant wife and how he misses her. The following day, the survivors find out that 1 boat is missing. The day after that, the crew resorts to cannibalism to survive. They are pulling straws, and the captain pulls the shortest one. He asks one of the crewmates to shoot him, but the boy instead shoots himself. One day, the whale suddenly returns. Chase is ready to kill him and gets into a position for the final attack. The whale breaches for a moment, allowing Chase to observe a portion of his previously thrown harpoon still embedded above the whale's eye. At that moment, Chase hesitates and stares into the whale's left eye as the whale stares back at Chase. He feels empathy for the animal, now knowing what it feels like to be prey. Chase feels its pain and lowers the harpoon. The whale swims away peacefully, like he knows what Chase thinks and feels. After some time, the two remaining boats get separated, and a passing ship rescues the captain's boat. Chase's boat continues to drift with no food or water. Nickerson hears Chase mumbling as he hallucinates of his father. Nickerson then sees a ship in the distance and tries to wake Chase, but fails and loses consciousness. Then we see the Nantucket harbor 1 year later. Both Nickerson and Chase are alive and well. Chase sees his wife and daughter. A joyful hug is exchanged between husband and wife. Chase's eyes fill with tears as he looks at his daughter. Later, the Nantucket Company owners ask Chase and the captain to cover up the story about the whale to protect the industry's reputation. Chase refuses and tells the company owners that he is sick of their dishonesty and greed, refusing to go along, and he resigns. Nickerson catches up to Chase and tells him how much he meant to him and that it's been an honor for them to sail together. Chase tells him that the honor is his. Both of them shed a tear, and Chase gives his necklace to Nickerson and wishes him luck. In the present, Nickerson tells Melville that he never saw Chase again. All he knows is that he became a merchant captain. As for Captain Pollard, he refused to lie to the court and told everything about the whale. The captain led another expedition to find and kill the whale, but he didn't succeed, and his ship got stranded. After that, he never sailed again. Nickerson finishes his story by telling Melville that one rescued the 3 crewmen on the deserted island. Sadly, the second mate, Joy, died because of wounds. Melville thanks him from the bottom of his heart and parts ways with Nickerson. The movie ends with Melville writing his book, Moby Dick, inspired by the events that happened to Essex crew. If you enjoyed this movie recap, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to see more of these, subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos.